In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
Hello. It's another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix with yours truly, Bryce D. Nyer, coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of Fort Bragg. Where every day, men and women don the uniform and do what? They go out there and they wage war against our enemies to defend our freedoms that we so often take for granted. But anyway, and that's important, but anyway, we're going to talk about something that you law students are going to face out there in the legal matrix. And you face it in your life every day. And that particular issue is temptation. And you're going to be tempted many times in life. You already have. Some of you have given into temptations. I know I have. That we often regret. And we should regret. And it's a very spicy world out there, always has been since God created the earth and human beings. And, temptation's what's kind of got everybody into trouble in the Garden of Eden. And once that happened, it just propelled itself forward through the centuries in the human race. But there will come times in your life, law students, and you young lawyers, that you have to know when to walk away. Walk away from certain situations, certain people, certain deals. Excuse me. And it's going to be tough because you're going to want to take shortcuts. You're going to want to seek pleasure over responsibility. You're going to want to seek the easier path more so than the path of truth. And it'll happen. You think it won't, but it will. And I want you to consider this. When you law students apply to the state bar in your respective jurisdictions, they do, of course, what's called a background check and this and that and interviews, blah, blah, blah. And the majority of the time where lawyers are disciplined is not necessarily at the application stage to take the bar exam and be admitted to a bar, but it comes later in a lawyer's career. And it happens because two of the biggest culprits are going to be sex and money. They're powerful tempters. They are. Sex and money are powerful tempters and have caused many a man and many a woman to destroy their lives. And I would venture to say that living as long as I have and the experiences I have, that most, if not all, I won't say all, but most human beings on this planet have at one time or another given into temptations and sedations that have taken them off the path to them achieving great things. And it's not hard to do because there's just so much out there in terms of these temptations, the things that make you feel good. This temporary delusion that everything's great and wonderful until the next morning when it all comes crashing down upon you. And this has happened in my life too. I've become involved in situations or toxic relationships that I never should have been in. And I gave in to temptations and it was stupid and it caused a lot of havoc in my life and I created it. I know that a year or two ago, one of my main coaches, trainers in life, he posed the question often in the group, who creates the struggles in our life? Is it God or do we do it? And it truly was the better question. And I find for me that the struggles in my life were often, if not all times, created by the choices that I made, or the choices I didn't make, or the things that I said, or the things that I didn't say. And those things that I did or didn't do resulted in the chaos that would occur in my life. And the reason we have scars, emotional, mental, some physical, are to remind us of the pain when we give into these temptations in life, these sedations, because they're reminders of how our lives have gone off path. And when you hear the term hell on earth, there really is a hell on earth. There is. And it happens when you do go off path and you go out and sin and you do stupid stuff, in these realms that most lawyers and law students that they create this internal stress and their lives just run amok. And it's not difficult to do, and it doesn't take a long time to do it. There's a saying when I was in the Army, and it goes like this: one aw shit wipes out 100 attaboys. And I got to tell you, that's a true story. Because everybody will remember your mistakes, but nobody will remember your victories. Everybody will remember your mistakes, but nobody will remember your victories. And all too often, as we go through life, we're going to remember the mistakes that we made. And hopefully those mistakes that took us off path still have a remnant of a scar, a pain that acts as a warning system, a warning light, a signal that says to stop, seek, submit, and then take action. And if you don't do that, then you're going to find yourself at some point in just this total pit of self-destruction. And if you think that you're strong enough to do it on your own, I'm here to tell you that's just not true. That's not going to happen. I know no human being that, honestly, without the strength of God in them, to resist, some of the most horrible situations. People laugh at that, but let's take a look at the world. Look at the world right now, the chaos that it's in. Look at all these self-help books and Oprah and Dr. Phil and blah, 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 blah. And think about it. They've been on TVs and media for decades, and this world is more screwed up than it ever was before because people chose the wrong path and chose to listen to the wrong people and felt that by reading a book or listening to a video from some self-help life coach guru that their life was going to become fixed. But what happened is they didn't turn their life around. They didn't take the different path. They just kept going as if they had a checkbook with blank checks that were signed that they could go cash. And so what happens is you cash the checks for temporary fulfillment and ecstasy, only to realize that the long-term dividends are destruction and chaos and a hell on earth. And I tell you law students this because you're going to get out into this legal matrix where there are powerful men, powerful women, powerful corporations, powerful entities that use the law as their main weapon of choice to move forward to do what it is they do. And you are just simply a legal merc, a mercenary. You are an instrument. Especially if you work as an associate or you work in corporate counsel, you're just an instrument. You really don't have freedom. You think you do, but you don't. And you are packaged and put in this box and confined and contained, and you'll either get with their program or you're going to be gone. And sometimes you're going to be asked to do things that you shouldn't do. There are going to be times when you're going to be tempted to take a bite of the apple when you shouldn't. And you're going to be tempted. It's not a matter of if you will, it's just a matter of when. And then the issue becomes, what are you going to do once that happens? What are you going to do? Yeah, these are things that you really need to think about. They're not necessarily fun topics, but there's nothing fun about going to prison. There's nothing fun about getting sued. There's nothing fun about getting disbarred, suspended. There's nothing fun about that at all. There's nothing fun about it at all. And sometimes the people that are in charge of, judging you and you're standing before forums or state bars, most of them, they're no better. They're just no better. They just haven't been caught yet. That's all. That's the difference. And if you find yourself to where you give into temptation and the fallout is to hell on earth, then you have to take the personal responsibility and accountability to course correct, to pivot, and to fix the situation. And a lot of times it's going to be tough. It's going to drain you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, and sometimes physically. It is. But those 2 4-letter words that your parents, you hear the old joke, they're 4-letter words you shouldn't say. Well, the 2 biggest 4-letter words I've always said that get people into trouble are SEXX and MUNY. And it's true. And those are the 2 biggest culprits in the legal matrix that will take you off path, that will bring you into this domain, this pit of temptation. And it will take every ounce of strength that you have in body, beings, balance, and business to resist the temptations that will come in front of you, that will present themselves to you. And you will have to make some very, very difficult decisions and some difficult choices. You would think that the decisions would not be difficult, that the choices would not be difficult because it was right and wrong, good and evil. But what happens is we as human beings, we rationalize it. We take the humanist view that we determine what's moral, what's not moral, what's right and what's wrong. And that's where we get into trouble. That's where I've gotten myself into trouble. I thought I knew better and I thought, oh, it'll be okay. It's no big deal. Nobody will know. Or, I like this relationship or I want to be with her or blah, 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 blah. Only to find myself down the road saying, what the hell was I thinking? And then the answer echoed back, you weren't. And you weren't. And, I'm going to tell you something. There's nothing worse. There is nothing worse than looking yourself in the mirror and going, I did that. And I'm not talking about something successful. I'm talking about really just screwing your life up or doing something really stupid. And there's nobody else to blame. Because the person looking back in the mirror is pointing at you and going, you did that. You did that. You made that choice. You said that, or you didn't walk away. And it's horrible. It's this guilt. You're like, man, how could I do that? And you'll do it. In your life, you are going to, at one time or another, you're going to give in to a temptation. And it's going to bite you right in the ass. It just is. And when it does, it's not going to let go until you repent and seek redemption and say, I ain't going to do that again. Yeah, it's a painful reminder. And some people, they'll do it again. But eventually they'll quit because the pain will be too much or their lives will just be utterly destroyed. So I want you law students and you new young lawyers new to this game of the legal matrix. And the legal matrix, it is a beast. And it will come at you with temptations and sedations. And it will try and pull you in down to a pit to where you're in a matrix and all you feel is all this pleasure until one day in the future, the pain appears. Yeah. Like touching the hot oven stove when your mother told you as a kid, don't touch it. And you did because you were stupid and you burned the hell out of your hand. You didn't do that again. So it's something I want you to think about. It's a good topic. You have your whole life ahead of you. Me too. And we need to stop sometimes and just kind of think about what we're doing or what we're not doing and do that self-audit in domains of body, being, balance, and business. Okay, so ask the better question. Where in your life are you tempted? Where in your life are you experiencing sedations? Where in your life is there a situation presenting itself that you need to not just walk away from it, you need to run the hell away from it? I mean, I'm at that point in my life too right now with some situations, some decisions, major life decisions. And, when there's a rumbling inside you, when you have some sort of hesitation and your gut is talking to you, that's a pretty good indication that it may not be the best path for you in that particular situation. So think about it, ask some better questions, answer them. This is Bryce Schneider coming at you live from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Again, home of Fort Bragg. This is Love and Light, and I am out of here.